Nancy, and this is our home, Tom and my home, and we're going to be in a garden tour tomorrow, and so this is a pre-garden tour for any of you who are interested. Tom and I have been living here for 17 years, and we started with flat, no gardens, no nothing. And we've been building it from scratch, so I'll take you along and hope you enjoy it. We're going to start by going through this little kind of peekaboo place that we've made in this tree. This is a beautiful tree that's called a molten lava cherry. It has lovely blossoms in the spring, but the reason it's called molten lava is that all the berries that you see here turn bright red in the spring, in the fall I mean, and you see some of them are already starting to turn, and so they cascade down. They look like, the tree looks like molten lava when it's all red, and the birds don't particularly like this berry, so it stays red for a long time. And when there's finally nothing else for them to eat, they do come and eat it, and that's nice, but we get to enjoy it for a long time. And so you can come through here with me in the shade garden. So now we've come through the molten lava cherry, and this provides us with a little shade garden here. And there's some Astilbe that's just gone by. And over here we have an allium that also has gone by. It's a lovely purple plant when it's blooming, but right now it's lost its blossoms, but it's still pretty interesting, so I like to leave it in the garden for a different texture. Now we're back into the light. Over here you start seeing lilies. Here's a pretty one with a orange with a yellow throat, and many of the lilies are numbered. We have 74 varieties that are numbered, and then we just kind of got too busy and stopped numbering them, so I'm not sure how many we have, but we'll see stones from time to time that have numbers on them, and also stones that identify some of the different plants that we have. We're walking along a garden path that Tom made several years ago to surprise me. It makes it kind of fun to go through and just enjoy the different blooms. As we come along here, we've got a beautiful bird's nest spruce. We trim it a little bit on the side here just so that we can walk on the path. But the flatness of it and the different steps is the way it grows naturally. So over here we have two different varieties of lilacs. This one I don't remember the name of. It's a beautiful mauve one. It's my favorite. It's a double mauve. And this is a white lilac. And over here we have another lilac, and that one is called Miss Canada, and it's the reddest lilac that they've developed so far. We have about 25 lilacs, 12 different varieties. So in the spring it's quite magical and it smells wonderful. You'll see that several ocean rocks are labeled with the names of the various plants, and the lilies are numbered so that we can kind of keep track of which colors. So over here we have some Arctic poppies. They self-seed every year and never know exactly where they're going to come up. They're kind of like a little surprise. I love the color of them and the texture of the leaves. things that makes a garden interesting are the different textures. So you have some smooth things, and you have some more curly things and thicker things, and they all kind of complement each other. So you notice I allow milkweed, in fact I encourage milkweed to be right in this English garden. One, they're beautiful, I think, of themselves. They have a lovely fragrance, but the main reason is we need to keep them because of the monarch butterflies. The butterflies themselves eat a number of plants, but the caterpillars need to have the milkweed in order to survive. I don't see any eggs on them yet, but I have seen some monarchs flying around, so hopefully we'll have some new babies coming this fall. This plant over here is called an Ito poppy. It's a new variety. It's a cross between a standard plant poppy, perennial poppy, and a tree poppy. It has beautiful yellow flowers the size of a dinner plate, and it doesn't need to be staked like the perennial poppies. It has a nice firm stem and holds its own the weight of its own plants. Here we have primarily a sound barrier from the street, and also a little privacy barrier with different kinds of shrubs. We have some evergreens, but we try to have something flowering from early spring to as late fall as possible. We just passed the forsythia, which is very early, and then over here we have a hydrangea that's just starting to bloom, and further down the line we'll have some Rose of Sharon, which is even later. This is a snowdrop viburnum, and it has beautiful, flat, lacy flowers, white flowers in the spring. And you see a number of different lilacs that we have, from light lavender, the old-fashioned ones, to very dark, almost black purple. Here's another hydrangea that's getting ready to bloom. You see the peonies, different varieties of peonies that are labeled. The lilies are just starting to open. This is a Rose of Sharon the buds are just growing, so that'll probably last till Halloween with flowers. Number of daylilies that'll be open tomorrow. Blue hydrangea. And at the end of the road here is a spirea, which is showing off beautiful pink flowers. Then we turn the corner. This lily here is the whitest. There's no white daylily. This is the one that's the whitest. Garden phlox are just starting to bloom. In another couple of weeks, this will be a whole splash of magenta. Our peas are going by. There's some pumpkins that are starting to grow. I'm growing those for our grandchildren. And then we have our compost piles where this is how we feed all of our plants, by making our own compost. Again, different varieties of different colors of garden phlox. This is kind of, you're looking at the wild garden in there. There's a path in there, and we kind of throw in extra leftover things, and then we have a lot of natural plants, native plants, a lot of asters in the fall. It looks quite pretty. A lot of early spring flowers. So when we go through here, this is a white rose of Sharon that has a red throat, and this is a double white lilac, and this is the entrance to the moon garden. And when you come in here, everything in the moon garden is white. It's most spectacular in the spring when the different viburnums are blooming. We're passing a magnolia up here that's just gone by. This hydrangea is just starting to bloom. So when the moon is half full or more, you can see the flowers all night long. Even this hydrangea over here has green and white leaves. You can take a little detour here into the moss garden. There are several varieties of mosses. A friend of mine has brought me some beautiful, unusual ones, but the chipmunks seem to like them, so they get eaten pretty quickly. So you can see here just the different greens, even the different textures, and it feels kind of fun to walk on it. Like a nice carpet. Come back into the moon garden. Pass by hosta beds. Again, a lot of different varieties, all different shades of green, from almost a blue-green to a chartreuse. So the only flowers that are not white in this garden are the blossoms of the peach tree. They're pink. So but we need to tolerate the pink flowers if we want to have the peaches. And you see that we've got, it's going to be a good year. Last year was a drought, and it was a cold spring, and so we didn't have a lot of peaches. So we have 2 peach trees. Before, I didn't point out before we came in the garden, we went by 2 blueberry bushes and 3 cherry trees. So now we go through the pergola, which is on a sunny day just a nice place to sit and chat. And when you walk through here, you leave the moon garden and we go back into color. And here we have a number of the south side, so we have a lot of bright blossoms. This is an interesting spirea. It has both white and pink flowers on it. I don't know if it's the variety itself or if it was something that was grafted. These here are not quite ready to show off right now, but these here are called gooseneck, and when they are in bloom, they're just starting now, as they bloom they actually form the neck of a goose, and a whole cluster of them looks like you've got a flock of geese. Kind of neat. In the spring, this garden is all purple and pink, and now it's turning into its summer colors. This is a beautiful, beautiful poppy in the spring. It's like a dusty pink, and people always comment about it. The inside of it is a dark, dark purple. It's very, very showy. The flowers are about this large, and poppies don't transplant well at all. And so the leaves aren't very pretty, but I keep them like this because I want the seed pods to ripen. You probably can't see them on the camera, but they're little tiny holes, like a salt shaker, right underneath this little kind of hat. And when the seeds are ready, you can toss them out, and they're just starting to maybe this one. Not quite ready. There's one seed there. They'll shake out, and they're the bread seed poppy. Like when you buy a roll or something, you've got little poppy seeds. These are the ones. And I can give these to friends, and then they will be able to have this flower at home. In a week or so, I'll hear them, and I'll know that they're ready. They shake. And I just put them in a little plastic bag and shake them, and the seeds all fall to the bottom. And then they make a nice gift for people who like gardening. So this is a mock orange, and it just finished blooming, and it's very highly scented. So, and as large as it is, when we have our windows open, we get the scent. We're close to the river, we get a breeze from the river, and we get the lovely scent from the flowers. You see we have several of these around the property. They're red, what do they call them? Red bud. And I first saw them in Detroit, in Michigan, where they line a lot of the trees in the suburbs with them. And they have beautiful magenta flowers in the spring, all up the whole branch. They're very showy. So, and this is a flowering plum. Has beautiful white flowers with little what would this be? Reddish burgundy center. And so the flowers look pink, but when you get close up, they're really not. They're white with a little magenta or burgundy center. Crabapple tree and hydrangea. And this tree was a Martin special. It wasn't labeled, and we weren't sure what we were buying. And it's a pretty interesting evergreen. And we don't know what it is, but we like it. We've had it, you can see, several years. A few years ago, a mouse or something gnawed on it at the bottom, but it has survived nicely. Well, you make sure you take a picture of Rosalynn here. Rosalyn's over 100 years old. Tom found her in an antique store, and we've had her about, well, maybe 30, 35 years. And she's a little weathered, like many of us, but we identify with her. But she's got a very whimsical expression on her face, and we just look forward to taking her out every spring. In this bed, we have a lot of daylilies right now. And earlier we had a lot of iris. You'll see some tiny iris all along the bottom. Those are dark, dark purple that outline the whole bed here, and they're very pretty in the spring. And then the taller iris come along, and now we've got the lilies. This is an interesting lily here. It looks almost like a spider.
gardens look beautiful.
Thank you. This is a very dark purple lilac in the spring, but it's a wonderful place for woodpeckers and nuthatches. They like to climb up and down the whole thing. And over here is supposed to be a bird bath, but mostly I find chipmunks taking baths in it. This is kind of an in-between garden now. We've lost the spring flowers and most of the fall flowers aren't out yet. Starting to have a dahlia. And in the corner here, tucked away, is a little shade garden with a waterfall. Now you're hearing feet.
Right here. Right here.
So this is our vegetable garden. I might have said already that this is an aging-friendly garden. We've been slowly replacing some of the iris, for example, with peonies that are more easy care and bloom at the same time. We've replaced some of our perennials with shrubbery, and we have nice high raised beds, easy to weed, and also not a lot of weeds. I think that these gardens are beautiful as well as delicious. Have different varieties of lettuces. This one here is called Merlot, nice bright red, and it's next to this Amish blushed bib lettuce over here. And this is a trellis for cucumbers. The cucumbers will climb right up here, and it allows us to put carrots underneath, different kinds of beans. This is a nice spicy oregano. Again, different kinds of lettuces that make it pretty. Nasturtium that are good to eat, but also make a nice decoration on a plate. Garlic will be cultivated later this month. But right now the garlic scapes are good to cut and eat, stir fry. These are gourmet blend of green beans. There's yellow ones, red ones, and green ones. And they're so gourmet that the chipmunks or something really love them and ate a whole lot of them. So I had to put in another bunch of them. So they're kind of thinner than the other bush beans. Over here we have several varieties of peppers, some jalapeno. One of my favorites are caparino. They're bright red, about the size of a golf ball, and they're wonderful to hollow out and put a mozzarella ball and a little prosciutto in there and bake them and make a great hors d'oeuvre. Then we have the regular sweet peppers, yellow, red, and green. We're coming through our dining area. This is, so when we moved here from the country and we have a corner lot, I felt like we were living in a fishbowl. So the first thing I did was put up some doors here and plant some privet because it grows very quickly. But I also planted some evergreen for a variety in texture. And now we have a nice private area where we can dine, entertain guests. A nice example of almost all green, but so many different color greens and different textures. So this is one of my favorite hydrangeas. It's called Twist and Shout, and it starts off blue, and then some of the flowers stay blue, others turn purple, and some turn pink, all at the same time. You see this one here is starting to turn purple. This one here is going to go to pink. Look at how beautiful that is. Oh my goodness, who could not love that? And this completes our July tour 2017. I hope you've enjoyed the garden as much as we do. We feel very grateful to have this, and we'd love to share it with you. Thank you for coming.